I'm going to make some flaky duck Pithiviers. And Pithiviers is just a very fancy French name for duck pies. And there's a really beautiful traditional spiral pattern that we're going to draw onto the pastry before they go into the oven. Now, I've just given myself a little head start with the mirepoix. Mirepoix is carrot, onion and celery, and I've just finely chopped it and allowed it to cook down for a good 15 minutes. In another pan, I'm going to get the duck on. Now, I'm using duck legs. Duck legs have so much flavour. There's a little bit of fat there too, so it's going to keep it really moist. So I'm just going to pat them dry, just on both sides. And they go straight into this pan, this really large pan that I have over here, without any oil. No oil required. First of all, it's non-stick, so it's not going to stick at all. But also the fat on the duck is going to render off. So skin side down, and I'll put 2 more in. And you can see it's not a very hot pan. It's just lightly sizzling. And that's what I want, because the lighter the heat is, the more fat is going to render out of this skin. Now I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt. I'll start on this side and then on the other side. I'll also add a little bit of pepper too, why not? And that's going to take about 5 minutes on that side. Then I'll turn them over just to seal quickly, and then they're going into this pan. While this mirepoix is cooking, I can now add some garlic. You don't want to add the garlic at the beginning, because if it does burn, you'll taste it at the end. And at this stage, I can add my cinnamon. Now, cinnamon and duck love each other. Fantastic for this. And now for some herbs, some thyme. I love thyme and duck. Smells so good. And some bay leaves. Now, hard herbs for this because they're going to withstand the heat. Now, I'm just going to let this mirepoix cook for a little longer, wait for this duck to cook, and then the duck can go straight into my pot roaster. Now that the duck has some good colour, it can go straight into this pot with the vegetables. Now for a little bit of tomato paste. Now, tomato paste is great for this because it's really going to make a nice, rich sauce. And you want to cook off this tomato paste to start with. Just get some heat into it. Then I'm going to turn the heat up now. Perfect. And then add a little bit of red wine. Let that bubble away for a moment. And the last ingredient in here is 2 cups of chicken or duck stock. You want it to almost cover the duck so it stays really moist throughout the cooking process. And now, once this starts to bubble again, I'm going to turn the heat down. The lid can go on now, and this can slowly cook very gently for about 1 hour or until the meat falls off the bone. Once it's completely cooked, I'm going to take the meat out and shred it. This meat has been shredded and it's cooled down, so now we're almost on the home stretch when it comes to the filling. I want to add some of this sauce. Now, this sauce is used in 2 ways. I'm going to add some of that mirepoix because there's so much flavour in the sweet vegetables there, and then some of the sauce. The remaining sauce here is going to be strained just into this pot over here, and I'm going to reduce the sauce again because I want to finish it off, because there's nothing like extra gravy on the side. Now, to give this a little bit of piquancy, you could add a little bit of mustard, or my choice today is a little bit of horseradish cream. So a good teaspoon in there. And also a little bit of fresh parsley. I'm going to add some of the stalks and some of the leaves. And you want a small handful of the parsley, that's plenty. In that goes. And then one last stir. And you can see how that's really coming together, and that's a nice consistency for a pie mixture there. Now onto the puff pastry. Use really good quality puff pastry for this, and I use the puff pastry for the bottom and the top. Unwrap it. I'm just going to make 2 of these, so the base can start over here, and just with a large cookie cutter, we're just going to cut 2 circles out. And I've got enough filling for 6 of these. Now, you can make these any size you like. I'm going to do just a simple 1 per serve size. So now for the lid, just going to cut around a saucer. That's a perfect size for me for this. The size of the lid should be at least 3 to 4 centimetres larger than the base so it can cover the mound of filling that I'm going to be putting into it. All right, now that that's done, we can start filling this. So I'll get a spoonful of this mixture and we'll place it onto the pie base, piling it into the centre. Now you want this to be quite high, so mound it nice and tightly in the centre there, because that's what makes a Pithiviers pie different to other pies. It's that little high bump that you'll see when it comes out of the oven. Let's fill the other one now. Again, perfectly in the centre. I'm going to use a little brush here with some egg wash. That's just simple egg that I've just whisked, and just lightly brush the edges. That's going to be our glue. When working with any type of pastry, you do want to work quite fast, because as soon as it heats up, it's harder to handle. But this is looking good. Then the lid goes on, and then just carefully sandwich the 2 pieces of pastry together, taking out any air bubbles. So what I do now after pressing it, I get that ring again and then press around it, and that's going to really make sure that that pastry is going to stick together and we'll have a nice clean edge. That's looking great. Now I'm going to brush it with a little bit more of that egg wash. And now, just with a small knife, just like this paring knife, I'm going to do that pinwheel pattern. Now you just want to draw it on, just trace around the Pithiviers, not cutting all the way through the pastry. Now this is going to go into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until it's puffed and golden. Pithiviers are almost done, so now it's time to get onto the peas. And have a look at this sauce over here. See how thick it is? That's what we're looking for. So I'm just going to turn the heat off that, and that'll stay nice and warm. And for the peas, in a pot, I've just melted some butter and added some spring onions that have been chopped. Now for some peas, some baby peas. Frozen peas are fine for this. A good handful into the pot. Give that a stir. And I don't want to overcook the peas. I still want their vibrant green colour. So now I'll add a bit of salt too to season it. And just to accentuate that sweetness of the peas, a hint of sugar. And now this is very traditional in sautéed peas like this. In France, we add lettuce. Now, if you haven't tried cooked lettuce, give it a go. This is just cos lettuce. It transforms completely. It really goes nice and sweet. So just a few leaves is all you need. Break them in half and in they go. And these lettuce leaves are going to wilt down nicely along with the peas and give it a really nice flavour. Okay, I think it's time. Let's get these pies out of the oven. Oh, they look good. Crusty, golden brown, and they look pretty good too. You can see that little shape that we formed there, and because we pressed on the pastry, it's nicely encased all of that meat and nothing's coming out. Oh, I love these. Now, the way that I love to present this is starting with the peas in a shallow bowl like this. Get some of that lettuce. Look how this lettuce has wilted down. It almost turns into cabbage, but I find it sweeter than cabbage. Really nice little tip to do that. And then a nice amount of those peas there. You can see that they've still retained their colour, and the butter in there has made them nice and glossy. And now one of our pies can go on the top. I'm going for the biggest one. Just allow it to nestle in there, and then this sauce. Now, for presentation, I'm not going to pour it straight on the pie because I don't want soggy pastry. So I'm just going to pour it around just like that. Oh, that is the ultimate pie floater. I think we call this a pie floater, but it sounds so much nicer when you say duck pithiviers with a beautiful gravy and sautéed peas. Can't wait to dig into this one.